Beautiful Minneapolis, site of Super Bowl 52. U.S. Bank Stadium opened less than 2 years ago and will host the Super Bowl in less than 4 days. Our own Chris Carter is there right now.
My man.
What is going on?
Hey, brother.
Cece, how cold was it? You tweeted it out this morning.
Oh, it's cold. No, it's real cold. Right? The wind chill, I think, is like minus 15 degrees. The actual temperature is a couple degrees below zero.
That should be illegal. All right, take us through, give us some sights and sound. What was it like? You got there yesterday. What's the city like? Are you seeing more Eagles, Patriots fans? Like, tell us what you're seeing there.
I mean, I think it's the busiest Wednesday night that I've seen in the Super Bowl in a long, long time. Typically because the hotel accommodations, they require you Thursday, Friday, Saturday, have a 4-night minimum. And they get you rooked into that. But I saw so many fans out downtown last night. We were out fairly, having a good meal, seeing the sights. But one thing was very, very surprising. Minnesota people are very, very nice. But the one thing I took away from last night was the Patriots have gathered a lot of fans since Minnesota lost to Philadelphia, and the overall mistreatment of the Minnesota fans and of them mocking the Vikings skull chant. The Vikings fans are cheering for the Patriots. So I'm totally surprised by it. Wait, on Sunday in U.S. Bank Stadium, the Patriots will have a decisive advantage from a fan standpoint with the noise.
All right, well, that is very interesting. Let's dive right in by talking about those Patriots. So in real life, CC, the age of 40 is still your prime. Winning means beating your buddies at poker, and you can snag the MVP honor simply by bringing pizza home to your family. In football, that's not the case, unless you are Tom Brady, who is playing MVP caliber football in the Super Bowl at age 40, and probably not eating pizza. Just like me and Nick. It seems as though everyone's wondering, though, when he will retire. According to Patriots President Jonathan Kraft, Tom Brady has earned the right to decide when his career is over. Here's Tom Brady speaking yesterday.
Why does everyone want me to retire so bad? I don't get it. I'm having fun. The team's doing good. I know I'm a little bit older than most of the other guys, but, I'm really enjoying it. I obviously enjoy the experience of playing in this game. This has been, obviously a dream come true, many times over. And, it takes a lot of hard work to get here. Our team, I think, is, working hard. We had a good practice today. We're going to need a couple more good ones. We're playing against, great football teams. So I'm not thinking about retirement. I'm thinking about the Super Bowl and trying to win the most important game of the year. And it's going to take a lot to do it.
So, Cece, let me start with you. The normal way Patriots do business is by not letting emotions get in the way, right? They do it based on numbers and not by just about anything else. But does letting Brady now decide his future go basically against what the Patriots usually do?
Well, yes, it goes against, but he's been able to accomplish so much, and that you have to understand how Mr. Kraft looks at Tom Brady. And it's beyond football. Now, the football is what allows Belichick to be held in the background and have the Kraft family decide that spot as far as Tom Brady. Belichick does control the roster. But when Jonathan Kraft speaks out, that's the whole family speaking out. And I've told you guys this a number of times before. Mr. Kraft looks at Tom Brady as if he's a son. Now you have his legitimate son in Jonathan Kraft explaining, who actually oversees all of the Kraft enterprise and all the Kraft operations. So this is just like talking to the dad. And Jonathan Kraft is actually like talking about one of his maternal brothers that he does have in Tom Brady. So the Krafts, they love Tom Brady. And Tom has played at a level that they can't even approach him about retirement. I think this is a lot like the Yankees with Derek Jeter. I know that Nick earlier, he talked about the greats of the game, that they didn't have the choice in their deciding when they wanted to leave, that being Joe Montana, that being Jim Brown, even that being Jerry Rice. But Tom's in a different class, and the reason why, he's been with the same owner, he's been with the same coach, and it's going to allow him the flexibility. Derek Jeter was not himself. I went to Fenway Park to see Derek Jeter's last game against the Red Sox. I saw Derek Jeter's last hit. Those things. He was not the same player. But seeing him out there in that Yankees uniform compared to going somewhere else late in his career, I think it was better as a true sports fan. I think that some players are going to be able to defy it, and Tom Brady is the one right now in sports. He's going to play beyond what we think is our prime in our late 30s, and he's going to stay with one organization. I'm with Tom. I don't know why people are trying to force him out of something that he is very, very good at.
I don't know if people are trying to force Tom out, but you mentioned Derek Jeter. I'll bring up another sport where a team let a player write his own exit ticket. Kobe Bryant and the Lakers. That's another salary cap sport, unlike baseball, like football is. That might have been the right business decision for them. That might have been the right future free agent destination decision for them. It wasn't the right basketball decision for them. Now, Brady is still...
Hey, Nick, one second. The biggest difference between Kobe and Tom Brady has taken a hometown discount as far as salary for a number of years. Kobe was taking the maximum amount of dollars, and the team was totally in rebuilding. So I don't think Kobe is fair to compare to Tom, and Kobe's injuries late.
Absolutely. Listen, you're right. Kobe took the opposite of a hometown discount. He took the hometown supermax, and the team was in a different spot than the Patriots are, and he obviously was in a different spot as where he was in his career. Brady is playing as well, or nearly as well, as he's ever played. This, to me, this does go against the Patriot way, but it doesn't mean it's the wrong thing. That's the distinction I want to make sure people understand. It is totally different than the way Belichick has always run things. Famously, will let you go a year early rather than a year late, will not have the emotion attached to relationships with a player. Famously went to Troy Brown. Troy, we need you to play defensive back for us. Forgo contract incentives. It'll help us win the Super Bowl. He does it. They call him an all-time Patriot. They win the Super Bowl. They then cut him a couple months later when they wanted to keep him just so they could squeeze him for a couple $1 million. That's who the Patriots have always been. What is interesting to me about this is we have seen, I think it was in the Super Bowl last year, but we could argue about when it happened. What we now have evidence of is Tom Brady truly has ascended not only other Patriots, but essentially all the other all-time greats. If we were to make a football Mount Rushmore, right? Montana, Rice, Brown, Brady. That's a pretty good one. Maybe someone's going to argue, but those are probably the four best ever. Montana didn't get to do this. Jerry Rice didn't get to do this. Jim Brown didn't even want to leave anywhere. He just wanted to make movies as well, and the owner was like, nope, you got to choose. Brady has gone from all-time football player status to near godlike status, and to me, that's what this comment represents.
Let me jump in here 1 second, Cece. This has the feel to me as a million microphones, a million reporters, a million people asking questions. It was a very euphoric reaction, you know. Hey, when do you think he might retire? He can retire when he wants to retire. If he loses the Super Bowl, and I'm not saying he will, and then he comes out next year and they win 4, 5, even maybe 6 games, I think you're hearing a little bit of a different tune. I think everybody is swept up in the way the Super Bowl was won last year, the season that we're having this year, a little insight that we've seen into Tom Brady and his little football, you know, documentary, if you will. And I think that the owners were caught up in all of it. I don't know if it's the same answer we see if he starts to decline the way we saw with
Jerry Rice,
Joe Montana, Peyton Manning, all those guys. I think it might be a different conversation. What do you think about that?
Well, all those other players, Jenna, had significant injuries or surgery. Joe Montana, he had a bad back. He had ailments. They also had a Hall of Famer in Steve Young sitting behind him. Steve Young is not Jimmy Garoppolo. Jerry Rice had a couple injuries. They had a very young and future Hall of Famer in Terrell Owens. So there were excuses of how they could get off of these players, and Father Time had crept up, and even though they were legacy players, Mount Rushmore players, Father Time was starting to win that battle. Tom Brady, it's not that way. This is not an overreaction by Kraft. They have been to 8 Super Bowls. You're not going to surprise them with a question. I told you, Jonathan Kraft also was on the trip to Israel this summer. I talked to him at length about the Patriots, the Kraft, their empire, and how they're going to go about doing business. So this is not an overreaction. This is not a flip decision. Jonathan Kraft is a part of the hierarchy in the Kraft family. Him and Tom Brady are just like brothers.
Well,
this is how the family has discussed Tom Brady. One of our colleagues at Fox, the great Jimmy Johnson, he talked about when he left Dallas, went into retirement, then he came to the Dolphins. His first team meeting, he closed at the time the team meeting was, he closed the door. There were a couple guys outside the door knocking on the door. He told them, listen, everyone is the same. But he said if that was Dan Marino out there, I would open up the I would open up the door. But he ended up cutting the guy who was late to his first meeting, but it wasn't Dan Marino. The rules don't apply to every player. When you are a great player, when you are an iconic player, it allows you different things. And Tom Brady, being the GOAT and what he's accomplished in New England, he's going to play. When are we going to buy into Tom Brady is the one guy that's going to be able to maybe win the fight against Father Time, and I see him playing successfully for at least another 2 to 3 years.
And I just want to make sure the audience understands. Jonathan Kraft, it's not just like, oh, this is one of the owner's kids. This isn't like the wayward son. This is where the messenger really matters. But Bob Kraft, I understand, he's the patriarch of the family. He is the owner of the team. At this moment with the Patriots, Jonathan Kraft is running the football team. Bob Kraft is doing other things. He's organizing, for example, trips to Israel with a dozen Hall of Famers to have football fields over there. There's other big picture things, and there's things a man is doing. If I may, a man who tragically lost his wife a few years back, who is now kind of enjoying a second, like his golden years, if you will, as the patriarch, not only the Patriots, but of the NFL. Jonathan Kraft is the guy who's running the team. Jonathan Kraft is also the guy who has heard his father say, I have another son. His name's Tom Brady. So when Jonathan Kraft says these things, knowing he's going to be asked about it, I don't think it's a flippant comment. I think it's
no. I didn't mean it was I don't want to say it was a flippant comment. I just meant I think there's a part of it that got wrapped up a little bit
like
in all the energy that's out there. I don't want you to think I thought Jonathan made a flippant comment.
Unfortunately, if something happened to Robert Kraft today, Jonathan Kraft would immediately take over the family empire. So it's as if we're talking to Robert Kraft himself. Now, we just haven't heard his quotes, but he is well-versed in football. He is well-versed in the cap and what the Patriots need to do long-term. As much as they love Tom Brady, they love Bill Belichick also. So let's not think that the Krafts have to pick sides.
Right.
They realize that's Belichick's team. But this is our business, and Tom Brady, to Jonathan Kraft, is like my adopted brother.
All right, coming up, CC, how will the Patriots adjust if Gronk can't play? There's news on that. That's next on First Things First.
I wish I could throw him this football. That monitor's probably too expensive.
Don't hit him in the head. Don't hit him in the head.
That would...